every day. I feel like I'm becoming more of a hot mess. I mean, less of the hot, more of the mess. We're still going. I'm still alive. So cheers to that, mate.
I made you some content.
Hello, hi, welcome back. I've been trying to make this video for the past, I don't know how many weeks, but last time I tried making this video, I had lost my voice. Hey. I think this is a bad idea. I had lost my voice for like 3 days and it was awful. I hated not talking. I'm someone who talks. I like talking. It's why I created a YouTube channel, because I like to talk, and my dog doesn't like to listen to me anymore. She gets to the point where she's like, fuck off, mate, and I'm like, fair enough. But today is not about me not being able to talk. Today is about me talking about a book that I recently read. A few disclaimers before we get into this video. The first one is, I swear a lot. So, mate, if you don't like hearing me swear, you can fuck it off, because this video ain't for you, sis. Second thing is, I'm going to be discussing a book that has some problematic themes that could be a bit triggering to some elements of the book, such as abuse, sexual abuse, some dark aspects to it. I'm going to be talking about a few things that can be a bit triggering, so just throwing that out there. And thirdly, I am someone who's very opinionated. I've found that out. It's called self-awareness. I've got a lot of thoughts of this book, and so if it comes across me being like a bitch about it, it's probably because I am being a bitch about it, but also no hate to the author. I think she did the best she could with what she had. And again, this book was like written in 2015, so the majority of, I feel like, fantasy romance books written in 2015, they're all problematic. Let's just throw that out there. I don't even know what the third disclaimer was, but the point is, I may be a bit heated, and that's why. Okay, let's get into it. Let's talk about this book. So essentially, this takes place in a little town or a village called Rogia, and every 10 years there is a girl, a 17-year-old girl, that is chosen by the sorcerer named the Dragon to come and serve him. And every 10 years after they're done, he moves on and he picks another 17-year-old girl. This has been happening for centuries. So in this little village, they are surrounded by this cursed forest. Think of this cursed forest as my mental state during seasonal depression. It's like a shit show of like a lot of fucking bad stuff. But essentially anyone that comes in contact with the wood, they are consumed and essentially turn into little freaking demons that have to be like burnt or like turned into stone. It's like a real traumatic thing. Like, you just don't want to go into the woods. In fact, there was this one scene from the book where like a bunch of cows just turned into like these freaking demonic creatures, and they had to like burn it alive with like a special fire potion. That's like a whole thing. Like, cows were set on fire. I was traumatized, and I was just like, what the fuck am I reading? That's basically the summary. Let's talk a little bit about the characters. The first character that we meet is Agnieszka, and this book is written in her point of view. And she is considered the Mary Sue. Think the Snowflake Syndrome character, which is,
I am that one special girl that I don't know that I'm special.
If there's any character that's more annoying, it's those character tropes. The I'm this little mouse and I'm just different from everyone and I don't know I'm special, that I'm just like, can you shut the fuck up? Like, you are so annoying. Anyways, Agnieszka is seen as this really plain looking girl who's incredibly clumsy and has no personality. Her personality is pretty much just her being incredibly clumsy.
Okay.
Girl, this girl literally has no sense of like self-awareness. She's always being like, the poor me, I'm plain looking. Just like comparing herself to her best friend Kasha. Well, Kasha's beautiful, Kasha was loved, Kasha was this, Kasha was that. It's like, girl, are you obsessed with Kasha or something? Our second character that we meet is the Dragon the Sorcerer. He's an egoistical asshole of a nitwit twat little piece of shit that I've ever read. Listen, I love my asshole characters, okay? I love reading about like my asshole guys and my bitchy girls. When you look down, like look inside, you realize that they do have a heart. They're just really closed off and misunderstood. But no, this guy, the Dragon, his personality is his ego and his look. If I wanted to off myself, all I'd have to do is jump from his ego to his personality and it would get the job done. This is how shallow of a character he is, but yet we are made to see that he is like this incredibly attractive person. I'm sorry, the last time I checked, being an asshole, straight up asshole to someone for no particular reason is not attractive. If anything, it makes me want to slap you in the face. Oh, what's that? What do I smell? I smell a bitch. That's who he is. He's a fucking bitch. Moving on from the characters, let's talk about the world building. The world building wasn't so great. I think she could have done a better job at creating the system, the magic system. It was confusing because her writing was kind of all over the place, so like her world building aspect was also all over the place. Part of the world building got me confused was the magic system. Let's talk a little bit about the magic system and fantasy writing. I feel like with writing magic, it can be very tricky in a sense of what to do and what not to do. I feel like there are two kinds of like magic systems: the hard magic and the soft magic. In this book, you clearly get a sense of soft magic. What is soft magic, you ask? Let me tell you. So soft magic is where there is the established rules, that there is magic heavily involved in the story, but you don't go into depths of how it is used. So in a sense, soft magic is like, this happens for this reasons, you just gotta accept it, we don't have time to go into full depth. Hard magic is like Tolkien's Silmarillion or J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter. That's where they go into depth of how magic is used, how the system works, and all that. I don't think the author at the time when she was writing this really knew which one to use, because at one point she's sprouting these like Polish, Ukrainian like spells, and it just made absolutely no fucking sense. Here's an example from Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling uses a lot of Latin-based spells. So for instance, Oculus Reparo. Oculus or oculi means eye, and reparo is I repair. So I repair eyes, or I repair your glasses. That makes sense. In this book, I don't even remember some of the spells because they were more consonant and less vowels, and I was just like, maybe I really am shit at Russian and I don't know Polish, so like none of the magic words, like she was just, the point is she was just using these frivolous words, sounded Slavic, but I was just like, and then like she was going into depth of how our main characters were trying to use magic. She would talk about like there would be scenes where they'll open a book and they'll hold hands and they'll just like chant and everything, and then she'd be like this and this, and like the words flew from the pages, and like this was happening and the rose was intertwining, and I'm just like, wait, what's going on? That aspect of like world building could have been written better. I'm not trying to hold everything against this author. I feel like I'm already shitting on her a lot. As for her writing style, it wasn't the greatest. Honestly, it was a bit messy, but I have read worse, so I can't really hold it against her for being like,
your writing is shit.
like, it wasn't bad. It's much better than mine. Let's throw that out there. I can't really come at her for her writing, but I will say, like, it is a bit messy. It is all over the place, especially like the first 250 pages. Like, just so much was happening, and it was just too fast, and it was more telling than showing. I was kind of surprised because Naomi Novik was already like, she is like one of those few authors that is a detailed author. So she takes her time with details, and as someone who doesn't mind details, I was just like, you're not giving us a lot here in a sense. Like the first half of the book was very fast and just like in your face, and then you get to the second half and it just like is a roller coaster ride over or something. Like, why are we still sitting here, you know? Romance. Was there a romance theme going on here? Apparently, it's considered a young adult romance novel. I didn't see any romance. If anything, all I saw was like a lot of fucked up abuse going on that I was just like, is this Stockholm Syndrome? There was absolutely no chemistry whatsoever between the characters, and yet it was kind of pushed in our faces that these two characters do have like feelings for each other and like they care about each other deeply, and I'm like, bitch, where?
I'm stunned forever.
I have more chemistry with the floor than these two have with each other. Okay, let's really talk about the problematic aspects of this book that I found incredibly disturbing and triggering, and I was just like, why would you write this? There was a scene in the book where our main character, Agnieszka, at this point of the story was in the tower with the dragon, and they had a visitor. The prince came along, and the prince tried to sexually assault Agnieszka. He tried to rape her, and as she did, as she should, she knocked him out because she was trying to defend herself. And the dragon comes out of fucking nowhere and is like screaming and yelling at her, being like, what the fuck did you do? Like, why would you knock him out? Now your head is gonna be on a spike. Yada da da da. This ruins everything. And she's over here being like, dude, he tried to like come on to me and try to rape me. Like, hello. And he's like, well, you were wearing a nightgown. What did you expect? You can't be walking around these halls wearing a nightgown. I'm fucking sorry, bitch, what? And that was not the worst part. The worst part was he put a spell on the prince to where when he woke up, instead of remembering her knocking him out, he remembers them sleeping together. That was it of the scene. And yet, somehow we are still made to believe that the dragon was a good character, was a good person. Like, what the fuck are you on? My point is, she writes this scene, dismisses the sexual assault with the hint of misogyny, and that was it. And this isn't the only time that our main character was like sexually assaulted. There was another scene where they did a spell together and it worked, and he was like quote unquote overjoyed, and he's like insulting her and being like, I can't believe you did this, like, you ignorant fool. And then he kisses her out of nowhere. She was a bit hesitant, and then she's like, oh, okay, fine. And then like they're making out, and then all of a sudden he like pushes her away, and he's like, oh, I can't believe I kissed you. Gasp, gag. I also just want to remind everyone that she is 17 years old, and the dragon, Sarkin, he's literally like over 100 years old. This guy's lived centuries. And again, this girl is 17 and he's kissing her in the library. And this is seen as like a romantic gesture. Now I get that there's like those enemies to lovers trope where in heat of the moment they're arguing and then like they just clash and they have like a passionate heated moment. Like, that's a trope, and Naomi Novik tried to make this trope, but it's so wrong because again, she's 17, 18 years old. She's a teen. 18, teen. How many times I have to say this? And he is centuries years old. There's a whole age gap, and that bothers me a lot. And people tend to overlook this because they think, oh, an older man, that's hot. No, it's not. She's a child. She's still a teenager. She's not an adult, and she doesn't have the experience or the maturity to take on all those like sexual emotions. I'm pretty sure that when you kiss, you go through a few things. It's called part of puberty. She's going through that, and she's 17, and this guy is centuries years old. I just want to throw that out there because, hello, 2 + 2 is making 5 here, not 4. Oh, you're like this plain ugly girl, I can't be with you. And she's just sitting there on the floor being like, you came on to me. And then he like turns it around on her and being like, how dare you kiss me, blah blah blah. And then she like leaves and has like this guilt of kissing him, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Interesting. There are so many more other scenes that I was just like, this is very problematic. Talk about the physical and mental abuse that the dragon has with Agnieszka. She's the chosen one. She's taken to the castle, and he literally makes her do all the chores, and then when she's not doing chores, he's making her learn spells and this and that, and like he's really fucking mean to her. Like, he's so cruel to her. The things he says to her are just really rude. Like, he literally called her ugly to her face. He literally said, a horse is more pretty than you. Like, you have a horse's face. And yet we're still out here being told that we should love this guy. No, he's a dickhead. He's an asshole. Like, literally, he's cruel and mean to her for no apparent fucking reason. Something that really bothers me about this story is the age difference. This guy literally chooses 17-year-olds, 17, not 18, 17-year-olds to like serve him, essentially be his servants. And Agnieszka like straight up asks him like, why don't you just hire servants? Because there is a scene where he's pouting when he finds out that the whole town assumes that he takes these girls and he uses them, and then after 10 years he just kicks them out. And he's like, that's not what happens. Why would you assume that? And she's like, well then why do you just choose 17-year-olds? Why not hire servants? And he literally goes, hired servants are inadequate, he said, irritable and evasive. He didn't say why. He made an impatient gesture, not looking at me. I don't take pulling girls who want only to marry a village lover or ones who cringe from me. What the fucking bullshit are you on? Like, what kind of fucking drugs are you taking? What is going on in your mind? And yet, you're pouting, you're having a little hissy snitty fit because, oh my gosh, the village assumes that I just steal these girls and have my way with them and then kick them out. Like, how dare you? What else are you supposed to believe when literally all you do is take the girls? It turns out he's like bearing his soul to her. And he's like, no. I feed these girls, I give them an education, I let them read, and then when they leave, I give them a huge sum of money, like a dowry, and they usually go off to university and do whatever they want. Oh no, you're right, you're doing something great. Good for you, sir.
I am depressed.
Ugh, this story just keeps getting worse and worse. My issue with this book was mainly not just like the problematic themes of this book, like kidnapping, sexual abuse, physical mental abuse, Stockholm Syndrome. I mean, the list goes fucking on. Plotline was all over the place, and that didn't even go for it. So what did go for this book? Absolutely, I felt like nothing really went for this book. Maybe taking the time to describe stuff. People were telling me like on Goodreads, like, oh, it's got like the Russian folklore. Bitch, where? If not for like the pronunciation of the names like Marek or Sarkin or Agnieszka, I would have thought this book took place in Southern Europe, like Germany or France or Italy. There was no real Russian folklore or like Slavic folklore going on in the background. And I'm gonna just leave it at that because I feel like I'm being a bit bitchy and bitter about it. But this book really left me upset and angry and depressed and wanting, and I'm just like, why would you do me like that? And then I go on Goodreads and I see so many people really enjoyed this book. And I'm like,
are you kidding me? Why do I even bother at this point?
Oh, this book really be out here trying to give me a heart attack. Which will come to an incredible surprise as to why I'm telling you guys, read this book. Hear me out. If you are someone who is a author and you're trying to write a fantasy novel, young adult, this book is a good book of how not to write a fantasy book. Let me tell you, I was actually quite surprised by how many things I learned in terms of writing a novel. If you are a young fantasy author, I highly recommend you read this book. Essentially what I'm trying to say here is it's okay and actually good to read bad and poorly written books, because if anything, it shows you what not to write, how not to write certain things. For me, I actually picked up a few things that I've been doing with my own writing through reading hers, and it made me realize, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I shouldn't write my work this way. Maybe I should have like a bit more of my plotline organized or give more depth to my characters. It's good to look at other people's, I guess, mistakes or just bad writing and learn from them, because you're not going to go anywhere if you just read good stuff. It's always great to read good quality books, good quality stories, well thought out literature, but it's also important to read poorly written literature that helps you grow. Just like a point out there. That's what I was trying to say here. This book review aged me, and not in a good way. It did not age me like fine wine. I feel like I lost a few brain cells. I gave this book a 2 out of 5 stars, but after me just ranting, I feel like I should just give it a 1. I feel like I shouldn't even give it any stars. Why waste more of my time on your bits? Thank you for watching this abhorrently long video of me ranting about a book. Yeah, so Mazel Tov. I'm not Jewish. I'm Catholic.
Oh no! Our table! It's broken!
I love you guys. Be kind to yourselves. Stay hydrated. And do good? I don't know.